Here we go.
You're tuning in to Will Love Listen. Now listen.
Today is a very special day. One of my favorite people is here joining me, Susan Miller of Astrology Zone, the queen of astrology, the astrology icon. If you know astrology, you know
Oh,
Susan Miller. We've done some of these like year ahead interviews over the years. I think the first time I interviewed you was 2015.
it was a long time ago. Yes.
And then
But
there
I
were
mean, we do it every year now.
Yeah, we've been doing it reoccurring. So I'm so happy. You have your calendar out. People need to get it. The year ahead,
Oh, yes.
2025. Beautiful artwork. It's so detailed.
I'm
Uh,
going to go get mine. Yes.
it has all the aspects on full moons, new moons, eclipses, uh, everything. And let me just show you. Let me show you a month I haven't written anything personal in. So this is March, for example. And it has so much details on what you should do, what you should not do that day, what's going on with the planets. It really helps guide you, especially if you want to know how to find success with all your endeavors, whether personal, professional, romantic. It's a beautiful calendar. I love it. I've been using this religiously for years.
Oh, I love doing them. I think I've done like 12. I'm not sure how many when I started. It's been a long time. But it really gives you, when you're writing it, a sense of the year because you're looking into every single day
Yeah.
and you start to see patterns and things.
Yeah, absolutely, which I'm so excited to touch upon. I'm wearing green because it's a snake year. I'm born in the year of the snake.
The
So
woodland snake, that's Chinese astrology.
I
Yes.
know. So,
Oprah was a woodland snake.
oh, she was a snake? Oh, interesting. That's good.
You
Well,
can Google, because snake sounds a little scary,
I know
but
quite a
in
bit.
in Chinese astrology, it's a transformational year because the snake sheds its skin, and bursts out of it, and it's supposed to be a good thing.
Yeah, well, I'm ready. I'm trying to channel that snake energy, but we're gonna get all into astrology. I want to go into like I mentioned, we were talking on the phone the other day, like the moons, the eclipses, retrogrades, all of that. But first, before we start that,
Do we have like a whole day? Right?
we could like do like
It's a
short.
lot.
I know we could do like short in like little topics of each. But before we start all of that, I was wondering if we could start off with you giving a forecast for every sign,
Oh,
because
okay.
the first thing I want to touch upon is so Jupiter is currently in Gemini, which it's been in since May of 2024. And now Jupiter stays in Gemini for the first half of the year. Then
Yes.
on June 9th, all the way through June 30th, 2026, so for over a year, starting in June of this year, Jupiter will move into Cancer. And long story short, I hear that the first half of this year is going to be completely different than the second half of the year.
Well, yeah,
And there's a
it's
lot of moving
different.
parts. There's a lot of reasons why we'll get into, but I think to keep it light, to start off, could you give a forecast for every sign?
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
start with Aries, the beginning of spring. That's always the proper way. You always begin with Aries and end with Pisces. Aries has a very big year because not only is Jupiter going into Cancer, which is great for their home. They've been so career oriented tremendously that it's time to think about themselves and their home life and their family, and if they have children, to spend more time there. And if they want to buy a house, it's the perfect year for that, beginning June 9th. It couldn't be better because this happens every 12 years. So this is the year. Or to renovate or buy one new thing for your house that just makes it great. To do more entertaining and to work out of your home too, Aries, because the money is flowing through the house. So working out of the home is actually a good thing because that's where the profits come. setting up a home office. If you have an extra room, deck it out, make it really comfortable and work there if your company allows you to. Not all companies do, but if you can, that would be nice. Aries are usually on their own anyway. They're the entrepreneurial sign of the zodiac, and they start businesses. So this is a really good year. The first half of the year, though, for everyone, and we should talk about this just for a second, there are so many retrograde planets. I have never seen a situation like this. It started at Thanksgiving, our Thanksgiving, right after, well, no, the day before Thanksgiving, Mercury went retrograde. And he stayed retrograde until December 15th. So if you had a hard time shopping, now you know why, if things were delayed or out of stock and so forth. But on December 6th, Mars, Mercury's big brother, went retrograde, and he's been retrograde all along now, ever since. He won't go direct until February 23rd. But even when a planet goes direct, and it does make a big difference, believe me, you can breathe again, not so many delays, things start clicking along. But he has to make his way back to the same degree he was when he was retrograde. So let's just give a simple example. Let's say he went retrograde at 20 degrees. I don't know what it is. I didn't look it up before the show. And then he goes direct at 1 degree, let's make believe. Until little Mars, after February 23rd, marches his way from 1 to 20, back the very beginning of when he went retrograde, he's not considered fully strong. That will happen on May 16th. So, we have that. All right, so now we have that. Then Mercury goes retrograde again in March 15th until April 7th.
Well, that's right around my birthday.
And then we have Venus retrograde. Not the best time to start a relationship or to do anything for your appearance, like veneers on your teeth or change your hair color from, blonde to brunette or dramatic changes. You can do little changes, but not, big ones, no Botox or anything expensive like that. So you have to put a moratorium on that from March 1st to April 12th. But when we get to April, and it will take little Venus a little time into May to get organized. But once we hit May, we are home free. Actually, there's a really nice new moon, May 26th, in Gemini, that could deliver so much of the promise that you may be thinking never was delivered. Whenever Jupiter, the giver of gifts and luck, goes into a sign, it gives promises. And Jupiter in Gemini is fantastic for communication, for writing your first book or designing an app or redesigning your website or taking trips, anything communicative, though, particularly. And things will start really clicking in right before Jupiter goes into Cancer. I think he'll deliver a gift as thanks for waiting. So I think that will come at the end of May or the very beginning of June, right before he leaves. He's going to say, by the way, I meant to give you this. So for Aries, it would be the something communication oriented, a new job in PR or a new book coming out or a new app. You see where I'm going on that. Now, Taurus has been making money hand over fist, and they love that.
Yeah.
They love to have a nest egg. They need it badly, and if they can, they would like to have land too. They want to feel secure, and this is one sign that contributes all the time to their savings and investments. And then on a Friday night, if the rest of the world is going to the movies, they're opening their bank statement and admiring how well they're doing. And we laugh at them, but they're laughing at us because they have all this money. And they are going to do really well at the end of May because that new moon will trigger that promise of a lot more money. And then it goes into Cancer where they can travel more. Then you have Gemini, which is the celestial favorite right now. And you can really see, even in the administration, when you think, well, that person's never going to get approved.
Yeah.
For example, Mr. Headset, he was controversial. He's a Gemini. And a lot of the people in the being nominated are Geminis. Well, of course, President Trump is a Gemini too. They have an edge right now. You don't have it forever, but you do have it when Jupiter is in your sign or on your rising sign. So he seems to be getting everything he wants. I don't know if that will keep up after Jupiter leaves. But Gemini, don't worry when you have to give your crown up to the next sign, Cancer, because it goes into the second gestation of your chart, which means you start to make really good money. And all the money will refer to the seeds you're planting now. So you may think, oh, I'm working and working, and I'm not really seeing the kind of growth that I expected. You will after Jupiter goes into Cancer on June 9th and stays for almost 13 months, okay? Have a little faith. Cancer, I'm so happy to tell you, you're getting your chance at this wonderful year. It's very special. We'll be reading about cancers in the news. They're all going to be, doing things. And what's interesting about Cancer, and we'll talk about it a little bit later, Saturn's going into Aries in their 10th house of honors, awards, achievement. Now, Saturn gets a bad name because he makes you work hard. He uses tough love to teach you how to learn the ropes of something new. But he brings out the best in you. And of all the things that you're proudest of in life, it usually happens when you have a Saturn transit, when you have Saturn in a big deal place. Now, Saturn has not been in your house of honors, awards, achievement, fame for 29 years. You may not even be old enough. And if you were a little tot, you didn't feel it. You have to be at least 12 to feel some of these aspects. So maybe you were class president or something like that in junior high school. But this is big. Saturn will stay 3 years in Cancer's house of honors, awards, achievement, fame. And the first year that they get this, it's just a little preview from the end of March to the beginning of September. Then Saturn backs out, ties up loose ends in Pisces. Pisces has had this all along for a long time, since March 2023.
I can't wait for it to be over.
Yeah. And then he comes back. But I'll tell you, when I had Saturn right on my sun, a long time ago, 29 years ago, I started Astrology Zone. So you usually are very dedicated to what you start, and you usually stick with it. Many people started websites in 1995, but they're not still with us now. They lost interest, they stopped, and they went on to something else. But if you started something in 1995, you probably stuck with it and have something to be proud of. Same thing, Cancer and Aries, listen up, because it's happening to you too. It's happening in your first house. That means you're taking on responsibility, and we grow up. It doesn't really matter how old we are. We could be in our 80s and still grow up and learn to take on more than we have before. So it's a good thing. You feel proud of having grown. You see growth. Anyway, moving on to Leo. Leo is a fixed sign like Taurus, and they've not had it that easy lately. But I like Jupiter in Gemini for them. The first half of the year is when they should make new friends. They should join a new club. It could be professional or it could be social, or they could join a new social media platform. Your idea is to expand your circle of people you know, because among them is the chance to make a really good friend, someone you just are delighted to be with, and they understand you, and together you cook up ideas. And that's, what they say. I don't know who said this, but our friends are the family we make ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's a nice thought. So Leo, that's where the golden nuggets lie, and it's the first half of the year. Second half of the year, the ancients always felt that before your golden year, and yours starts July 30th, next year, 2026, and lasts for a whole year, maybe until August 1st. I have to look it up, but approximately. That's your best year in 12. But the year before your golden year is supposed to be a year of meditation, of reflection, of making your wish list and what you'd like to achieve. So that's what you would be best suited to do in the second half of 2025. You also will have guardian angels looking after you, not the Disney type, little fuzzy blue creatures, but real flesh and blood people who are saying nice things about you and want to help you, but you may not be aware yet that you have this support. It may be going on in the background, but you will start to find out in time next year, next summer, not this summer, next summer. Virgo is, I am so happy to say this to Virgo. Virgo's finally getting the respect and admiration they deserve. Virgos do not self-promote very often. They're modest people. They feel their work should speak for itself, so they don't really toot their own horn. And now the world has come to their doorstep because everyone has figured out that Virgo is a treasure to have on staff. And they are going up, 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 up in the world. Now, Virgo, if you say, well, I had signs of that and I was getting somewhere, and then things kind of slowed down, but I worked just as hard. Well, Jupiter's been retrograde since October 9th, and it went direct on February 4th. So now you're going to start to see the tempo pick up. You cannot unlock the treasure of a planet without a new moon. The new moon provides the key. So you have to wait until the end of May, but then you must be ready to go out to the world and grab it with two hands. You have to, be ready, be prepared. And that is what Virgo does so well. Now, Virgos have been saying to me, well, what about love? Well, no, I don't want to hear about love. I don't want to hear about socializing until after June 9th. Then you can have all the socializing you want. But you have a tiger by the tail right now, Virgo, and you really need to make a name for yourself now. After June 9th, it won't be what you know, but who you know that will matter. So you have to be out in the world, meeting people, socializing, and some of them some of your new friends will help you professionally, and others will help you in your social life. Leo, you have friends that would actually lay down on railroad tracks for you. Your friends are amazing. There is absolutely nothing your friends wouldn't do to help you get ahead.
Do you mean Libra?
I'm sorry, Libra. Yes, Libra. Uh, yes. Uh, but well, they're such a social sign anyway.
They are.
But this year they want to travel and they should spin their compass. I want them to go somewhere before June 9th, like a foreign country, maybe one they haven't visited in a long time, like Rome or Paris, or someplace they never thought they'd ever get to see, like Istanbul or Kyoto. Someplace far, and not domestic, foreign. Now, Canada does qualify. Any country that requires your passport for entry qualifies. Mexico qualifies. All the islands in the Caribbean, not all of them, but the ones that are not owned by the US qualify. You want to go, visit a beautiful island, need a rest from all the cold. Definitely that's in the cards too. And but you have an opportunity to expand your knowledge of the world, and that's what you should be doing right now. Scorpio. Oh, well, I'm sorry. Let me go back to Libra for a minute. The reason I want Libra to travel now, after June 9th, they won't be able to. They're getting big promotion, big job opportunity. If they're self-employed, they'll be very busy. So they have no time later to travel. So go now and then be prepared for just a confetti of praise and adulation and awards and new clients and all kinds of good things coming to you later. Okay? So you actually have a beautiful outlook. You have fun first and then great work opportunity that you've earned over the years. Scorpio, we have a cluster of 5 planets in Pisces on February 27th. That is absolutely breathtakingly beautiful. We call it a crown of stars or a stellium. And that's going to be in their house of love. And Scorpio is such a hardworking sign. My mother, who taught me astrology, used to say, Virgo gets usually the accolades for perfection and really concentrating and getting the job done perfectly. She said Scorpio does too, and they should get equal credit. She used to call them Alexa Hente, like Virgo. They want excellence and they have the energy and drive to achieve it. And that will be at the end of February. I want you to socialize like crazy. Now, the Scorpios have been making really good money. It seems to have been coming in chunks, like a big commission or a bonus or commission or a royalty or a big jumbo mortgage or an inheritance or a prize. Maybe you went on Jeopardy and won a big chunk of money. This is what Scorpio has been enjoying for almost a year now. It leaves in June 9th, and then they can rest and they can travel. And actually, foreign people are lucky for you, Scorpio. Also, if you want to go back to graduate school, yes, you apply to your favorite institutions. Don't say, oh, I'll never get in. No, they have to let somebody in. Why not you? Not only should you try, you should ask for a scholarship while you're at it or financial aid. You are luckier than a little leprechaun when it comes to that. So why not try? This is an aspect that comes once every 12 years. This is a good time. Also, if you're in publishing or broadcasting, lots of opportunity for growth. And so education, travel. The reason they have travel in the same house as education, higher education, is the ancients felt it belonged there because one of the best ways to learn about life and the world around you was to travel to foreign countries. And I think they were right.
Yeah.
You know, we come back with a whole new perspective and you get to know the people and so forth. So it's fun. It's fun and yet it's learning too at the same time.
Yeah.
So, oh, my little Sagittarians. They've been having trouble with flooding in their house over the past 14 years, now and then. Maybe a flood in the basement now and then. I hope it wasn't too bad. That's over, almost over. Neptune goes into Aries now, and it moves out of the difficult place it's been. They're also going to take love seriously because Saturn's going to be in the house of love. That means they're ready to take on responsibility. You know, did you know, Will, that Sagittarius is known as the bachelor sign? They come very close to marriage and then they hesitate. We're going to see what happens with Taylor Swift. She's a Sag.
Yeah.
Right now, they have Jupiter in the house of marriage. It is the best place, hands down, for marriage or living together in a very committed, established relationship.
Partnerships.
Usually there's a contract that seals the partnership. You know, when you get married, you have to sign papers after the ceremony. We all forget that, but yeah, it's a legal, sacred document. Any kind of partnership, like getting a new agent, getting a new publicist, getting a new accountant, a new bookkeeper, someone who works with you in a confidential way, one-on-one, like your spouse would, for hopefully for mutual benefit for the two of you. And with Saturn in the fifth house, you might be ready to have a baby, you know, or adopt one. We can't forget that. It's a lovely thing to do. Steve Jobs was adopted. You know, if you Google famous people who were adopted, you'll fall off your chair. There's a lot of very famous people who were adopted. So it's a lovely thing to do. Sag, you have a big year coming up. You have decisions to make. Money is coming in, lots of it, in the second half of the year, in chunks, like Scorpios had. So that's always good. Chunks of money. We love chunks of money. So you can save it, invest it. It's so much easier if it comes in a chunk, right? Capricorn. Capricorn has been working their tail off. They've had Jupiter in the house of work assignments. And if they have their own business, the cash register's been ringing. People have been beating a path to their door. They haven't had much time for a social life or time for their sweetheart, but that will come in the second half after June 9th. And many of them will get married. They will have those aspects that Sagittarius has now. And it'll be a sweeter life, something more fun. Saturn will go into Aries, and that will give a need for stability in the home. You know, maybe if you've been renting, you say to yourself, well, I can't deduct anything if I'm renting. Maybe I should buy a small house or an apartment and start there and then maybe trade up. Capricorn's good with money. It's one of the 4 basic money signs. Cancer, Capricorn, Taurus, Scorpio. These are the signs that know how to handle money and make it grow. So I'm not worried about them. I know they're going to figure this out. But with Saturn in the home, they're going to have to be absolutely sure they can afford the mortgage. Don't wing it. Don't be overly optimistic. Be careful. and because things happen in life, we get expenses. And so just make sure you can afford it, which I'm sure they will definitely know that they can afford. But I'm just putting that little flag up because Saturn in the fourth house can mean a burdensome mortgage, that it's hard to pay. Maybe like I've had to help a family member. So maybe Capricorn will decide, oh, my family member needs some money. I'm going to be the one to help them, until they get a job again or something. Things happen. There was a writer's strike in LA. I'm sure a lot of families tried to help the person who was living there. So, because none of the studios were paying anybody because, they didn't want to cross the picket line, of course. So everything just stopped. But the trouble is, life doesn't stop.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, I think they're going to want to buy land, but they should give themselves lots of time to look at many spaces, and they know how to bargain. So I'm not worried about them. They'll get a good deal because as long as they take their time and give themselves a wide window to look. Aquarius has been renovating their home like crazy. They wake up to jackhammers. They go to sleep to them. I have a cousin who's an Aquarian, and she says, "I have to come to New York to see you just to get away from all the noise." It's been intense for them. So it's going to. I that was actually started last year or the year before. And some of them kept going because the project, I'm finding out these projects take much longer than you think they're going to take. But actually, I was really happy to look at Aquarius' chart this year because they have such good love aspects. And for such a long time, I had nothing much to tell them. I would get letters like, "Are you holding back? Are you not telling us we have good?" I would never do that. Of course not. I will tell you when you have good aspects. You have the best aspects on the planet now, Aquarius. And now that Jupiter's gone direct and it's birthday time, February is their birthday time. I would like you to be socializing, be out and about. You might meet someone that really intrigues you and you'd like to get to know better. And if you're attached, if you're married or living together, you'll have more fun together. You'll have more time for each other. That's great too. Also, your creativity is blooming like a big, bright hibiscus flower, as big as a dinner plate, as my mother would call it. As big as a dinner plate. I want you to sit down and start creating that idea that you have in your mind. You talk about it. It's time to put pen to paper and sketch it out or write it out, whatever it is. It's time now. This time is actually your best time before you get to June 9th, because after that, you'll be working really hard and you'll be getting the most plum assignments. Everybody in the department will be saying, "Why did she or he get what? They get the best assignments." Well, they worked for it. They proved to their management that they could handle it. Or if you're self-employed, you're making a name for yourself. It's a good time. Now, it's not the honors, awards, achievement, fame area of your chart. It's the workaday assignments. But still, we all need more money. I mean, the cost of everything is through the roof.
Yeah.
You're going to have plenty of money coming in. That's the one thing Aquarius hasn't been happy with. Saturn in the second house tightens the purse strings of the people you're hoping will give you jobs. They're all hesitating or they're paying very little and they're trying to pay you almost nothing. That's going to change when Saturn goes into Aries. It leaves that house and you can increase your income. And I think with all the work assignments coming down the road, it's it's all going to add up to a more lucrative time for you. And then we get to Pisces. Now, poor Pisces. This is
Oh,
such
yeah,
a
that's me.
tender sign. I love Pisces, but they've had Saturn that they're carrying. Uh, Now, it's an interesting thing about Saturn. When you have it on the sun, the way Pisces do, you get to pick the challenge you want to work on.
Okay.
When it's opposite your sign, like Virgo has, the universe picks what your challenge will be. You
Interesting.
don't get to pick. The
Okay.
universe gets picked. And Virgo's been having a reassessment of their relationship. Shall I stay with this person? Can I fix the relationship? They have run into a little turbulence, but it can be fixed, especially with Virgo's analytical mind. And they're practical too. They deal with the real world. So they might go to couples therapy to try to find what is the problem here. Because sometimes when people say they're unhappy, it's never what's really bothering them, it's something else. So sometimes you have to peel away the layers to get to the real problem. And sometimes a therapist can help you do that, shorten the time. But Pisces has been working on either a big career matter, an educational goal, maybe getting your master's. Pisces, buying your first house or doing your first renovation, taking on parenting, being a parent for the first time, something big that changes your status. You know, when you're married, you're a married person. When you buy a house, you're a homeowner. When you write a book, you're an author. It changes your status in society. Whatever you're working on now, and this should be something big that you're working on. Saturn won't leave completely until February 2026. But as I said before, Saturn's slipping into Aries from the end of March all the way to September 1st. But that's when money will tighten up. And I know what Pisces is saying right now. No, it's already tightening up.
Yeah, it's like, could I get a break, please?
I don't want it to tighten up anymore, you know. And knowing this is coming, try to do some promotion now and try to work on some things. But I like Saturn in Aries because it gives entrepreneurial ideas guardrails. You know, sometimes entrepreneurs are too optimistic. You know, we all know friends who you're watching what they're doing and you're like, why are they so optimistic? They have to come down a notch. You know, well, Saturn will do that. It'll make them more practical and more realistic. And you should have very high hopes and expectations, but at the same time, you should be realistic too. You should have clear eyes of what's going on and what you need to do to get to that big dream, you know. So I think Saturn in Aries will help them with that. If you're wondering, so you might not be old enough. You may not be 29 years old yet. But if you're over 29, let's say you're 39 listening to this, look back 29 years to when Saturn was in Aries. Way back when, I'm trying to remember, 1996.
Yes, that's true, because Saturn was
98, yeah.
94 to 96.
94 to 96.
So then it was in Aries from 96 until I think 98.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So, you know, you can always look back to see patterns. That's why I want you to get my calendar and just scribble something. Got a new job, took a wonderful trip, whatever it is, scribble it on the calendar because I'm going to keep asking you to look back and tell me what happened that year, even that month. Oh, you hear the sirens in the background, probably. This is New York. Without sirens, it wouldn't be New York. But anyway, that's the 12 signs, you know, so there's a lot going on. This is the first time I've ever seen all 5 big planets change signs. Pluto went into Aquarius, and it did that little back and forth thing. It gives you a little preview, then it backs out. but it went back in November 17th last year, 2024, and it's staying for 20 years until January 2044, January 19th, 2044. That's huge. And with Pluto, you don't have to wait long to see what happens with Pluto. He tends to announce his presence quickly. I'll give you an example. I always think of God sitting at a big conference table and saying, Pluto, I'd like to see you. Come on in. So Pluto comes in and God says, I'm moving you in 1994 to Sagittarius. And you're going to stay there, for a long time until 2008. And what will I do? Oh, you're going to bring the world together through information and a thing called the internet that the military's been using, but I want it to be out there for normal people to use. And that will be your job, to spread the word and to get people interested in the internet. And he did a very good job. And he enjoyed it. Well, then God called him back. It's 2008. Remember, you have to move. He said, well, wait, I did all this work. Will I have a team to help? Oh, yes, I'm sending Neptune and Uranus into Aquarius. They'll pick up where you're leaving off. Don't worry that your work will go for naught. No, it's not. It's going to, you just had to set the foundation. Now Neptune and Uranus, who are friends, both in Aquarius back then, they will, in 2010, they went in and carried on your good work. But I have a more pressing concern. I'm putting you in a sign called Capricorn. Oh, Pluto said, that's a big money sign. Yes, it is. And I don't like the way banks are taking advantage of people who are poor or don't have a lot of resources. And they know that they can't pay the mortgage, and they're giving them the mortgage anyway, in the hopes that they can reclaim the land that these people are buying. It's not fair. And you've got to do something. The minute Pluto gets into Capricorn, we have a big crash in 2000. He's been in Capricorn, and we saw Sam Bankman-Fried of FX go, is it FX or FTX, his company, where he was not following, correct financial procedures and he was picked up in the Bahamas and brought to jail after a trial. And we saw 3 banks fail, and Pluto got the bigger banks to absorb the little banks so that the depositors wouldn't lose their money. But it was a very financial time. Now it's in Aquarius, and already we're hearing that robots are coming and driverless cars, and AI is in the news every day. And it has such an upside, but also a big downside. And governments are slow to in the uptake there to get laws together. When I started on the internet in 1995, there were no rules at all. It was like riding a bucking bronco every single day. Readers would write to me and say, there's another site using your material. I said, oh, no, nobody would do that. Well, they said, here, take a look. It sounds like you. Sure enough, it was me with somebody else's name on top of it.
Wow. And
we had to ask them to please take their byline off. Thank you for liking the material, but it's mine. I was in China in October, and I was talking to my agent who lives in Beijing. She said, we're afraid about AI too.
Yeah.
The downside. This is not something only Americans are worried about. The whole world is worried about it.
Well, there's a lot of downsides in the sense of, like, one, it could eliminate jobs, and while simultaneously not being as efficient as a human. I think companies will be like, oh, we can cut costs, but then it'll do more harm than good, because you can't rely on a robot to do something that
I have astrologer friends who are using AI to write their columns, and I'm horrified.
I'm so against it. As a writer, because I write for a magazine, like, also obviously that gets me so angry, because there's an art to writing and there's an intellect to writing, and you can't.
And you have a voice, a certain style.
Exactly.
And you don't know you have a style until you start writing.
Yeah.
My editors would say, "You have a romantic style." I said, "I do?" "Oh, yes." I'm like, I had no idea. You learn about yourself by doing, and you have a voice. Most of my sentences are 21 to 22 words long with a main clause and a subordinate clause. But if I want to make a point, I'll have a very short sentence in the middle so it sticks out and the rhythm changes, the music
Yes.
stops, and you pay attention to it. There's things like that. What worries me is like AI will take all the astrologers, even the wannabes who studied only like a month.
Oh, yeah. All
And
the
that's
TikTok
a
ones.
problem. And it doesn't tell you how they verified it. That's going to change though, because there are um, chats that do, AI programs that do tell you where they got the information from. So I think it's going in that direction for everybody. They're going to have to, because there's all kinds of intellectual property nightmares. And even with art, you could say, make me a painting that looks like Renoir. Well, if you're asking for a painting of someone who's still alive and it's not 100 years yet, that's infringement. So if it looks too much like it. So we have to see where this all goes. But it will help medicine and science and going to the moon and so forth. So then we have Neptune going to Aries. The one thing about
That
Neptune and Aries worries
intrigues,
me.
that intrigues me because Neptune has been in Pisces for so long.
14 years,
And
yeah.
as a Pisces who also has a lot of mutable placements, I feel like it's been having a stronger effect on us. So it'll be interesting if,
With creativity and the arts.
yes, so it'll be interesting how we'll be.
Well, this will be more business because Aries is fire and directs their fire into business, whereas Leo is fire, directs it into the arts and entertainment, and Sag is fire, they direct it into publishing. They're great storytellers and also education. They make great professors at the college level. They're the ones, the teacher you never forget because they're so vivid and tell things in ways that you just can't forget. And they're fascinating professors. They're not ones you are frightened of. You can't wait to get to their class. So, but with Neptune and Aries, we've had a lot of flooding problems. Katrina, Sri Lanka, and other ones. I'm more worried about fire now.
Ooh.
And I was in Soho House and I was talking about this about a month ago. It was 2 weeks before the fires in Los Angeles, and I was in Los Angeles. And I said, I'm more worried about fire now. And that firemen, you'll see them on TV telling you what kind of roof to have, how to keep trees and shrubs away from the house. I don't know how you can make it look pretty. Maybe you put flowers there, low little baby marigolds or something, but keep the shrubs away from the house. That was a big problem in the LA fires, and the houses were too close together. They're going to have to change the zoning rules about that. But they were on a beach. They never thought that they'd ever have problems with fire being a beach house, but they did. And Neptune is the sea, it's the fog, it's the snow and ice and rain, but it's also gas. And in Aries is very combustible.
Yeah.
It's fire. So I think we all should get they're going to have to make fire extinguishers easier to use because there's that pin and nobody knows how to do it. And meanwhile, their house is burning down and they don't know how to take the pin out. There's also something new I heard on television. They have these fire blankets you can buy now. And you have it in the house and you just throw it on a fire and they're flame proof. That's a nice invention. There'll be more things like that. But, fire is terrifying.
Yeah.
Terrifying. But anyway, Neptune in Aries will certainly, I think, end the misinformation era that's been so bad. Because Neptune and Pisces, what's real, what isn't real.
The fantasy aspect of it all. Yeah.
We never used to talk about misinformation. I looked up in my, there's a dictionary for astrologers, and you can look up lies and untruths, and that's ruled by Pluto.
Hmm.
But I don't know. I hope we're finished or finishing up on lying. And I remember listening to the news, and the newscaster said there is no law against lying to your, followers, your contingency, the people who voted for you. There's no law against that. It's like, wow, maybe there should be. But, it's something to think about. It's okay to lie.
I know, right?
I don't know. It's against everything I was taught. I'm not okay to lie. But anyway, so you have Neptune in Aries that will inspire Aries and all the fire signs too, with great creative ideas. And that Leo will do very well with that, especially from foreign countries, because it's in their ninth house, or from their education. Then there's Uranus going into Gemini for the first time in 84 years.
Wow.
Now I'm hoping that will advance aviation. It's awfully close right now. It's within 7 degrees. When you start getting close to the next sign, you start feeling it. The administration fired the head of the FAA, Federal Aviation Association. I think that's what it stands for. It's the head of airports and flying rules. And since he left on the day that the new president got sworn in, on the news last night, they said there have been 7 airplane crashes. I'm hoping that we can get a qualified person in there. I mean, nothing usually happens until the public says we've had enough of this. We need to see a change. So I think that's the only way, when poll figures show that the public wants this. So everyone has to use their voice. But I do think that Gemini, Uranus, the planet of genius, the higher octave of Mercury that brings the facts that Mercury collects to a much higher level after it's been synthesized by Uranus. I think it might help bring magazines back.
Oh, good.
So I love
Me too.
magazines.
Me
I'm in
too.
another world in a magazine. And digitally it's not the same.
Not at all. No.
No. Oh, you're the same as me, huh? And there will be breakthroughs in transportation, even trains. Why don't we have a bullet train the way Japan does? Why does it take us so much longer to get from A to B? We should be able to go faster. And I think the infrastructure bill that was put in place by President Biden will help that when we start to see the results of that. Because it's too early yet. They have to build all these roads and bridges and railroad tracks and things. But there will be a speed up. And then you have Saturn in Aries, which we talked about before, about the entrepreneur getting a bit more realistic and doing more planning and being less apt to jump in with 2 feet. And then Jupiter in Cancer. Jupiter likes being in Cancer. And I know when I was studying astrology, I thought, oh, a planet likes all the signs equally, like I do. No.
That's true.
Some signs are much easier for that planet to be in. And it likes Cancer. And the United States is Cancer.
Yes.
Birthday is July 4th. And that's something to hang on to, that there will be prosperity despite our fears that everything's going in the wrong direction sometimes. But no, I think it'll pull together by the summer. And that, in the mid-year when Jupiter goes into Cancer, and, really, there could be some really good prosperity. And Cancer rules the home. So homes will become more affordable.
Good, good.
You
People are
know,
needing that. With the home prices, like the inflated prices and the interest rates high, it's made it impossible for people that have been like wanting to purchase something.
well, I bought my apartment when the rate was 5.7, which isn't too bad. It's not great, but it's not terrible. But when I went to Chase, they said, "Oh, wait a minute, you're self-employed." I said, "Yeah, but I have a good credit rating." They said, "We have to add an extra point because you're self-employed. You're 6.7." I said, "That's not fair." Are you going to be a problem? I'm like, "No, no, no, I won't be a problem." So 9 years I paid the higher rate. And then they kept tumbling down to 3.4, I think it was. So I renegotiated. I thought it would be a big, expensive process. It was not. It was nothing like the first day when you buy your house, where there's 10 people at the table with the state and the city and the feds and the landlord and the bank. And there were 10 people at the table and me, by myself. It was, it really showed what an important move you were making, that you were doing this. But then when you renegotiate, there's only 4 or 5 people at the table, not many at all, and much easier to renegotiate it down. And it doesn't cost much to do it. And I didn't know any of those things. So it was good to know. And then it went so much faster. Each point makes it so much easier to pay it down, because you should always pay a little bit more than what they're asking for. So if you're supposed to pay 2,500, try to pay 2,750 or 3,000, whatever it is that month that you can possibly give up. Then that's what you should do, because it goes so much faster. You just pay a little bit more. But I think things will become affordable. They said the job rates just came out. There was 146,000 jobs. But see, they don't tell us, are these jobs UPS workers or white collar people?
Yeah.
They don't really distinguish what kind of jobs are these jobs.
Yeah.
I would like to dig a little deeper. Maybe I have to start watching those financial shows. And while I'm writing, keep it on, and it'll seep into my head like osmosis. It will. I
Yeah.
usually keep the regular news on when I write. I need a little something in the house, some noise when I'm writing.
Yeah, I'm the same way when I write. But this is a monumental year because you have 5 planets all changing signs. You just covered. You got Jupiter, you got Saturn, you got Neptune, you got Uranus, you got Pluto. This is a year of transformation, really.
It will look and feel different. Now already it looks and feels different, and we're terrified of the way it's going. But
I know. Which
uh,
I do have a couple quick questions leaning off of like these changes. So, I guess the first one will be, Jupiter is in Pisces. I'm sorry, Saturn is in Pisces. We, it takes that brief preview into Aries in the summer. Will that make it a little bit easier for the mutable signs?
yes,
Okay,
definitely.
that's good.
Like cutting butter. Yes. But for Pisces, the money will tighten up a little. So you have to set the price before it goes in on March 30th. But it's hard. I mean, we all get Saturn in the second house every 29 years.
But could it really be harder than being in the first house, though?
No, first house is harder. And let me explain something to your listeners. Imagine a circle where the 12, the 6, the 9, and the 3 are. That's considered the angles of the chart. And any planet on one of those angles, the 12, the 9, the 6, and the 3, acts like a wild stallion, much more powerful and noticeable than when it's in any of the other little slices of the pizza pie. Much more. And the first house is where the 9 is on the clock. That's your house of identity. So that's Pisces. The bottom is the home, where the 6 is on the clock. Where the 3 is on a clock, that's your partner, opposite your identity house. It's the person you bring in your life to work with you to mutual benefit. And the top, where the 12 is, that's your career. You're going to have Saturn in your house of identity. That's why life has seemed a little hard and why you're wearing probably too much black. Pisces has been wearing a uniform because they have so much to think about. They're not wanting to think about what to wear too. And yes, it is easier when you unload Saturn. And Virgo will like it better because they have it in the house of partner, or if it's not the partner, it's open enemies, competitors who are not on your side and are out in the open. You can point to them, so, when President Biden had all those senators come to him and say, you have to step down, he had Mars in direct opposition to his sun in the 7th house of open enemies. And it's come out later that he felt betrayed by some of his closest friends. Among them were those senators who kind of said, look, you've got to step down. Now, whether or not it was a good idea, that's outside. It's how the person felt about it.
Yeah.
And he felt betrayed.
Astrology.
It's not an easy place to have any planet in the 7th house if it's feisty like Mars or Pluto or Saturn. Cancer's getting rid of Pluto after so many years, since 2008,
Wow.
in their 7th house. And that means a demanding partner, a difficult partner, or someone who's really getting the better part of the bargain.
Yeah, that's so funny you say that because I could think of cancers, both cancers that I used to know and some that I currently know. And all of those I could think of, past and present, are with a partner that's basically whips the, you know what I mean? Like it
Yeah.
controls them, and a
Who
very
ran a bulldozer over them? It's my way or the highway.
exactly.
Yeah.
All of them are with someone that like is controlling, and I feel like they're kind of like not in an enjoyable relationship, but they're just
Well, Cancer is very soft and compassionate. And they don't see Leo's going to have this now, but Leo doesn't stand for anything.
yeah, that's true.
The
Yeah, they're
lion roars. So
aggressive.
I'm not as worried about Leo as I am. Cancer is a tender sign. They're surprised by it because they think other people will treat them the way they treat others. But I'm even finding out that isn't true. But Cancer doesn't know how to handle it because they're motivated to nurture, and they're surprised by it, and they think they're seeing things, or they're not understanding something, or that couldn't possibly be happening. So it was very hard for such a tender sign. Leo knows how to stand up for themselves. They don't suffer that, the same way.
These planetary changes will give the cancers a chance to escape.
Oh yeah, yeah, and they'll have Pluto in the 8th house, and that's actually a wealth building aspect.
And speaking of Jupiter going into Cancer,
Oh yeah.
you know how like you had mentioned that certain signs in Jupiter work better than others. Well, so once Jupiter moves into Cancer, that's going to be a better time period because, correct me if I'm wrong, it's going to trine the North Node in Pisces.
Yes. Well,
Maybe
the nodes are a mathematical point to your listeners who are listening, and that's where the eclipses are. And eclipses are life-changing events. And we keep finding out how life-changing they are.
Yeah.
I've had, I mean, my readers know that I had a flood in my house at no fault of my own. I'm sitting there writing a column for Vogue Japan, my last column. 18 years I've been with the company, and my editor left, and it was my last. So I wanted it to be my best. It's 11 o'clock at night. It's due at 12, and at 12, it's noon in Tokyo. And I go in the bathroom, I wash my face, I'm just freshening up a little before I do spell check. The water's going down, everything's fine. I go back into the living room, I'm writing, and the door, the maintenance man is like, I have to get in, I have to get in, let me in, bang, bang, bang. I said, what's wrong? Is there a fire? What's going on? He said, I want to see your bathroom. There's a flood. I'm like, no, there isn't, but come on in. Oh, it's all dry. Let me see your other bathroom, because I have two bathrooms. And I open my bedroom door to get to the other bathroom. And I can feel the rug is like a sponge. I'm like, oh no, what happened? And we still don't know. We're going to take down that wall. This happened in April, but then I had to pack up everything. My contractor said we have to change the floors in the whole apartment because, it has to match. And then they found asbestos in the walls because it was built in 1975. And that meant I had to have a crew come in and take all the asbestos out, which was super expensive. That took 2 weeks, 16 days, 7 men, and they're licensed just to do that. So, and then the state of New York watches what they're doing. They fill out the papers, they show where they disposed of it. It's a serious thing. And of course, I didn't want the workers. See, asbestos won't bother you unless you dig into it, and dust is carcinogenic, that asbestos does. And it's even mixed with the paint in the floor, under the floorboards. That's why people who move their furniture around to put in new floors, it's not a good idea if there's asbestos in the floor, which my apartment was loaded with. So I did that. Then the state had to approve all the paperwork, and then we had to get the Department of Buildings, DOB, certificate for demolition, which we had to wait 5 months for that, but we got it. So it begins Tuesday. And that's all from the eclipse. Remember that eclipse last year in April that we all got the little glasses and we could see it in the United States? That's the one that gave me the flood.
Oh, I can't forget that one. It seemed like I was being groomed for an opportunity, and then it basically kind of got delayed.
Oh,
I very disappointed, and we'll talk about that a little off the air,
well,
but
the October one that came later in the year, October 14th. Oh no, it was last year. It was before the April one. It was in the fall of 2023. I went completely blind in both eyes for an infection.
this
That's
was on in
doctor.
2023.
It was the October 14th, 2023 eclipse. And my doctor was like, this could be catastrophic, Susan. And I don't know what's causing this. I said, don't worry. He said, you're taking this awfully well. I said, I don't have a choice. And you're trying everything. Plus, I have a good chart. Don't
Well,
worry.
that eclipse, if I could have felt it in early September of 23,
Yes,
then
you can feel an eclipse a month to the day early or a month to the day later. Plus,
that hit me then. Trust me, that was a
that was a Lollapalooza. It was a really tough one. And your readers think, well, she's not blind. She's just saying that, or she's aggrandizing the situation. No, I was totally blind. It happened a month to the day earlier, September 17th, until the beginning of December. Elton John has very similar thing happening to him right now. He got the infection in both eyes too, but his is not going away, and mine did. And that's why he's not writing music, and my heart goes out to him. And You know, he has a lot of trouble seeing right now. But they still have held out hope that there is a chance that he'll regain his sight. So let's all, pray for him.
Yes.
Because we want him to be able to see. Taking away your vision is one of the hardest things to give up in the whole world. It's catastrophic, But an eclipse will make you do things that you didn't think you could do.
Let me ask you something about these eclipses. So we're in one era of eclipses, and now it's moving into the Pisces-Virgo axis.
Yeah, it was in Aries Libra, and the Aries Libras have gone, especially the Aries. They have been uprooted so many times. They're like, oh my goodness. But there is such a thing as a good eclipse, like the one the end of March is actually a friendly eclipse. And I'm sure they're saying, I don't believe you. I don't think there is such a thing as a good eclipse, but there are. It can catapult you into something wonderful.
Will
Yeah.
these series of eclipses, the Pisces-Virgo eclipses, be easier to handle for everyone
Well, the
than
ones in March are okay, March 13th. And then we have the last Aries one, March 29th. The September 7th one, I'm a little concerned about. It's conjunct Saturn, as I remember. You can read about it in the calendar. You go to September and you look on the 7th and you see what I wrote. And, I assess each eclipse. The one on the 21st is actually pretty good. So the tough challenge is the 7th. So we'll see what that brings. But it falls in everybody's chart somewhere. But
yeah.
say Aries has it in the 12th house, which is a cadent house. It's a mild house. It's a weak house. So you tend not to feel it, after you've had your own eclipses for a while. When they finally move out of Pisces Virgo, they're easier for us because they're moving into a different place, in the chart. A cadent house is the 12th, the 6th, the ninth, and the 3rd house.
Now, I'm a little scared because as a Pisces who has their Mercury, Venus, and their North Node in Pisces,
Oh,
are these going to be good or bad? Isn't the North Node of this series of eclipses in Pisces? So
well, think back 19 years.
19 years. I mean,
You had the same eclipse, but the planets were in different places, the other planets, but the sun and moon were in the same place. So there might be a theme that comes up.
during that time period, I realized I was gay and came out.
Oh, wow. That's an identity change.
Yeah.
Some people change their name. Maybe they're going to write a book, a tell-all book, and they
I'd
adopt
rather
a
write a
pen
tell-all
name.
book. Let that be it. Let me write a tell-all book. I have a lot to spill, trust me.
Oh, that would be good. You're such a good writer. I think you should.
Hopefully it's something good career related, these series of eclipses, because eclipses scare
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, I want everybody to report to me I'm on social media, and I'll tell you which ones I'm on. I'm not on TikTok because I know too much. Let's just say the government in the United States is right to be concerned. Do you know that the congressmen who have used TikTok to get elected put it on a separate phone with nothing else on it? No financials, no other apps, just that. And that will tell you something right there. So if you're a TikToker, just get a separate phone. Don't have it connected to anything else. But I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, Discord, and there's another one. What is the other one? X, of course.
Yes.
That's where I have my biggest. I have 534,000. That's why you know what people say, how can you be on X? It's such a crazy place right now. You know what? Our community is quiet and loving. It's not, it almost seems like a little island away from everything there. It's actually very nice. So that's why I'm still there. If it were mean, I would definitely go up, but no, it's nice.
Years ago, I remember you wrote something which stuck out to me. You say that when you have either a new moon or a full moon on your birthday, or like a day before or a day after,
Yeah.
that it's very monumental for you that year. One, could you explain how? And two, could you explain if it's different if it's a new moon versus a full moon around your birthday?
Oh, sure. When you have a new moon on your birthday, it means a whole new fresh start. It's on your solar return, which means the sun comes back to exactly the same spot it was when you were born. So you have a new moon on your solar return. That means it's time to start a new chapter. When
Oh,
you have a full moon on your birthday, or within, I would say, plus or minus 3 or 4 days, then a lot of what you've accomplished has come to fruition.
oh, thank
And
you.
you'll see it at that birthday time. But also, it's time to come up with a new list of things you want to achieve next year. You don't get a new moon or full moon on your birthday that often.
No,
You
not at
really
all.
don't.
It,
So it's a big year when you do.
I remember the one, I had a new moon around my birthday one year, and I remember a lot of things changed that year. And it was tough at first, but it was a good change eventually. Now, this year, my birthday is March 12th, but that full moon in
Oh,
Virgo
it's coming.
is
Yeah.
the day after on March 13th.
It
So,
could be something about a relationship because it's in Virgo.
ooh, I got,
And it could mean that it's time to move to the next level, or if there's been any problem in the relationship to fix it, or or maybe you want to do something together, like buy a house or start a business or do something to make more of the relationship together, you know. But I do believe that if you ever bought property together, you should be married, you know. I have a girlfriend who's helping her boyfriend build his restaurant. She's quit all her jobs and works full time to help him, but they're not married. They've been living together for 9 years. They're already common law. They should just tie the knot. For some reason, she's hesitant. If
you
she's helping him build the business, it would be better. If anything ever happened to her boyfriend, if they're not married, the hospital's not going to let you in to see him.
You gave some good advice about like not buying property until you're married. And the reason I say that,
Yeah.
I have a friend who's also a Pisces, actually born the same week, except she's March 10th. Um, Years ago, she bought a home here in Jersey with her boyfriend. They're still not married, they're not even engaged, but the boyfriend lost his like kind of lost his job like 2+ years ago.
Um,
So it's
so she's carrying the mortgage.
I mean, he's still paying because he has it like an investment, but that's kind of, when you're using your savings and it's kind of like coming to like,
It's terrifying.
but it's also like, I feel like when you buy property with someone and you're not married, sometimes you might stay with that person longer because you have, now
Yeah.
you have an investment.
I even told my readers, if you're moving in with your boyfriend or girlfriend, keep your apartment, sublet it if you can. Not all relationships work out, and maybe you won't find an apartment in your favorite neighborhood anymore. And then that really is upsetting. Try to keep your old apartment until you know that this really is working. You'll know after a year, but you may want to, if your landlord lets you sublet, or maybe your sister will move in or somebody like a relative you can trust. But
This
yeah,
this
you have to be careful.
Yes. This I'm really excited for my birthday full moon. Because I've been
Yeah.
working hardcore, especially ever since Saturn went in Pisces. So I'm looking to see what comes to fruition.
Where do you have, well, you have Sagittarius rising.
Yes,
So your sun is in the fourth house. And this eclipse is
Virgo.
in Virgo, which is your career. So there will be a change in opportunity, maybe something you've been working on a long time, but they can't make up their mind and they keep like, I have to think about it. It could be then that you finally get the news, okay, this is a go. We want to do it.
Oh, that would be amazing.
Yeah, I think that could, a full moon finally brings everybody together, brings great energy together.
And I've
And
been looking for love because we have the Sagittarius rising, they have these strong love aspects, but maybe that
they
all comes to
do.
fruition at this moon for me.
Well, you just take whatever goodies the world has for you. It's so funny. Often we don't get them all at once. We don't get the love and the career at the same time, usually. Usually it's one or the other. It's so funny how people say they want a balanced life. My daughter and I laugh about it because I said to Chrissy,
No such
you
thing.
can have it all, you just can't have it all at the same time in your life. You just can't. Not if you want to be really successful. I don't believe in a balanced life.
I don't think it's possible anymore,
So,
honestly.
I mean, if you want to be successful, you've got to devote a lot of energy to
Yes.
that. But I do have a balanced life because I have my children and I love them so much. I have two daughters, and I can't imagine my life without them. And I had them really young. By the time I was 30, I had both of them. And I got married 1 month before I was 25 years old. I was 24. And I got started early, but nobody does that anymore. But I was ready and I wanted children really badly. And I have a birth defect where I bleed internally. I've had 40 blood transfusions in my life, and doctors say, you're insane. We don't want you to have any children. So I had to have them early before they had any excuse, before they figured out that I knew that they would figure out that it was not the greatest idea for me. And I did have trouble. I was in the hospital 5 weeks. I couldn't see my baby. They took her away from me. I had a fever. Well, you have a fever when you need fibrinogen. I said, just give me a bottle of blood and let me go home. And and I said, how come I know this and you don't know this? My doctor, who had hired a cardiologist, never read the records. He just didn't bother, and it blew up in our faces. And I never expected that, and then I went home in a wheelchair for another 3 months. I remember we couldn't baptize the baby until June, and she was born at the end of February. So I was sick all that time. And then I wanted another one. Like, you're crazy. And they were fighting with me and everything, but I had Diana 3 years later. So, best thing I ever did. I always believe you should never make decisions out of fear,
Mm,
but out of courage.
yeah.
We see a lot of people in the news making decisions out of fear.
I think a lot of us do in our everyday life too, especially.
But see, like in the Congress, a lot of them know what the right thing is to do, but they're not doing it for fear of losing their job.
Yeah.
Well, they have a great job in the Senate or in the House of Representatives. That would be very interesting to the private sector. They would get snapped up in a minute. You should make a decision that is the right decision, one of integrity. I know I'm so old fashioned. I believe in integrity, but I do believe that that's the way to a happier life. And because you wind up not liking the decision you made later if it's not out of integrity.
Now, a couple quick questions. So, first off, and this is more of a confirmation because there's so much back and forth retrogrades in the beginning of the year, and it kind of seems to go between Aries and Pisces, Aries and Pisces. One,
Leo and Cancer
are
with
those
Mars, yeah.
are
That
those four signs going to be the most the affected and
strung out.
the
Yeah.
foregoing back and forth on decision making because of that?
I don't think they're having trouble making decisions. I think the people around them are.
Okay.
And it's maddening. I have one of my best friends in the world is Cancer, born the end of June 22nd. And clients just, she cannot get a straight answer out of. She's in sales. She's a senior vice president and she's a star in her company. And she needs the commissions because she has a son who's autistic. And it's maddening. It's and you can't rail against it. To tell you the truth, it's probably better to hesitate because decisions made with Mars retrograde somehow need to be fixed later. And it's not great to get married under that, and that will clear up at the end of February, and not get married with Venus retrograde, because Venus is affection.
Yeah.
You don't want it to cool off quickly after you get married. That's horrible. You want to get away from all these retrogrades. And I have a very big deal pending, and I've made this big company wait. I said, look, if I'm going to tell my readers not to go into new ventures, I'm certainly not going to either, you know. So May is really the demarcation line. That's when the green light goes on, especially mid-May, mid to end of May. All of a sudden, it's better. And you know, Mars only retrogrades every 2 years. We're not even used to him retrograding. We're used to him helping us behind the scenes. And when Mars is retrograde, we're like, why is it taking so much time and money to do something that should be much simpler? And with Venus retrograde, you know, we associate Venus with love and beauty, which
Yeah.
is true, good looks, but it also rules profits. And with Venus retrograde, it's harder to make money. And Venus was always shown with the silk purse in the old masters paintings, and it was correct. It's money and luxury, and not the best time to spend for that really expensive suit or new, if you've been curious about a new skin line, you know, that is super expensive, wait until Venus goes direct, you know, and then buy it, you know. It's kind of, we'll all have great savings if we just stand still for a while, you know, but especially with Venus retrograde, you don't want to dive in, you know, so we have to wait a little, but at least Jupiter's moving along. I believe it's in May. I'm trying to remember because I've been writing the summaries far in advance. I'm writing May right now. No planet is retrograde.
Oh, that really is green light. Yeah.
Not one. Yeah. That's kind of rare, but none of them are. I think Pluto will go retrograde later that month at some point, but there's this precious period where nothing is retrograde. So no, you'll feel everything speed up. And eclipses often will do things for you that you're too afraid to do for yourself. Like if you're in an extremely unhappy relationship, or if you're in an apartment you just don't like it. You've been complaining to all your friends that you hate this apartment. And then an eclipse comes and the landlord sold the building. Wait, I loved that apartment. No, you didn't. You complained every single day how much you hated it. You didn't even like the neighborhood. The eclipse is your friend. It's getting you out. You're going to find a better place. Just have faith. But sometimes it will do for you what you can't do for yourself.
You're very right about that because I had someone I was friends with for a decade, but they always had a history of screwing me over. And finally, around one of the last eclipses in the summertime, there was something that happened, and I was just like, you know what? I think I'm finally just done. And I needed that
Oh,
extra.
yeah.
Yeah, I needed that.
I had someone on my staff who was constantly stirring up trouble with the other people
Yeah.
who worked for me. But I just kept dismissing it. I'm like, don't worry about that. Just stick to your job. You have a great job. Don't worry about the others. And I felt like I was in a school playground. And then there was the grand larceny. She had all my passwords. Let's just put it that it was an awakening on an eclipse. And I'm
think I
terrible
remember
about
this. We had
seeing
spoken
flaws
about
in
it
people.
first.
I trust people
Yeah,
unless they give me a good reason not to.
the
But I
same.
hadn't seen the good reason not to. And it came at me like a pie in my face. I mean, really bad situation. And she even took my house keys and wouldn't give it back, and a computer, and wanted a ransom. I mean, who does this? And I didn't give it to her. I went to a lawyer. But that was an awakening. I know that we all, when you have your own business, you are right up close at your own flaws. And I am not good at seeing through what people say on paper. They look great, you know, and I trust them. So my team said, you got to have us involved. We'll interview some of these
Yeah.
people. Susan, you're terrible. You believe everybody. And it's true. Because I think they're like me. They're honest, you know. Why should I doubt them? They're good people, but not always. It is my flaw. It is.
No, I'm like that too. Trust me. I've been screwed over by boyfriends, a lot of friends. But you know what? I feel like I'm finally awake now. It only took like a long time.
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, it happened. You have such a good heart.
Thank you. So do you, obviously.
Well, I think that, look, life is a gift. It's much better to be alive and going through a hard time than not being alive. So each one is a learning experience, makes us stronger. My mother always said, you learn nothing from times of ease, but when you're learning about the world and showing what you believe in, and you're in that boxing ring and it's sweaty and hot, and you're showing what you want to achieve. And it's not the time you're sitting in the corner after the bell rang and the referee is putting the water on you and giving you fluffy towels. That just gives you the energy to go back in. She said, life is about being in the ring and really fighting for what you believe in. And it was really funny. She would tell me when I was little, you have a character building episode coming up. And she would say it cheerfully. And I was about 13 and I said, Mama, I don't think I like those periods. And she laughed and she said, oh, you figured that out. Well, it's Saturn and he tests you and challenges you, but brings out the best in you. So you have to make friends with him. He's a good guy. You just have to see it, but it's coming up soon. And so, you know, you'll learn what Saturn's about. And it is true. In the end, the things that you gain from Saturn, what you achieve, are what you're proudest of, not things that landed in your lap. Whatever you fought to achieve, like having those children against all odds for me, I'm so happy I did that. Or buying my apartment, which was so difficult at that high interest rate, but somehow I did it and, you know, just kept plugging away and giving up other things. I wanted to build stability for the children. And you know, it's what you're proudest of in the end. So it's worth it. All the hard work is worth it in the end. And by the way, Saturn always leaves a gift by the door when he's finished with you. And he will leave that gift in February 2026
A year from
as thanks for dealing with his vigorous tests. He always leaves a gift, and the gift is usually related to what you've been working toward.
Good to know.
And you don't feel Saturn the whole 3 years he's in your sign. See, Saturn will arc over your head, right? Now, the Pisces, who were born in February, felt it in 2003 and a little bit in the beginning of 2024. Then the March 1st to March 10th, people were feeling it. Now it's the 11th to the 15th, and later it'll be the 15th to the 20th.
I'm the 12th. So I guess it's now. Although I
It's
feel like I
now, but
feel
you know when the heat is on. You can
yeah.
feel it. You can feel it, but you're probably also proud of how well you're holding up under it. I still feel that Saturn on the sun, the Pisces have it, is a little easier than opposition the sun that the Virgos have. Because the universe picture test when it's opposition. You probably, if you follow the breadcrumbs, chose this test that you're going through right now, agreed to it. Saturn doesn't break your elbows and say you have to do this goal. You picked it, but it turned out to be hard, but worthy of your attention. So, and Aries, listen up, you're getting it next.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
no matter what house it's in, you know, in astrology, we don't feel that you're mature at 18 or even 21. It takes Saturn 29 years to go through all 12 houses. Technically, it's 2.5 years per house, but when he goes in and out, you still kind of feel him close. So I say it's 3 years in each house, but it is every 29 years he comes back. That's when we consider you're mature. And when you're 29 years old is when you make a big decision. You put your marbles on the table and you say, this is what's important to me. Some people get married at that stage. Some people have a baby. Some people write a book. Some people buy a house. It's something you can't undo later, nor would you want to. I mean, it's hard to say, oh, I bought that house. I got to sell it. It was a bad idea. Well, it's not that easy. You know, you think twice about doing that. You try to make it work. So the things that you do with Saturn have stability, you know, and not easy to undo later. Or you go back to school to get a degree. And it doesn't matter how old you are. Some people go back in their 50s and 60s to get that degree. It's fine. Whatever's in your heart, there'll never be another you. Your chart is completely unique because it's so detailed on all the mathematics of those planets. It's impossible to replicate it exactly in time, space, or geography ever again. So you have to sing the song in your heart, not the song your professor tells you, or your parents tell you, or your mate tells you. It has to be your song. It has to stem from within you, because they don't know how you are inside. You know, you're an expert at it. And that's what you have to bring forth. And then it'll be the right accomplishment for you. You'll love it if it comes from within you.
Now March is approaching, and in March, 7 planets will be in Pisces. And we have
I
the
don't think, well, at times, not all at once. Dr. Horkheimer at the JPL said, we'll never have 7 again after May 5th, the year 2000. We had them all in Taurus. And that weekend, we had the love bug that went around the world. There was a computer virus that went around the world. I was afraid of earthquakes because I was seeing earth signs. I should have been looking at Uranus as the perpetrator. He was square all those planets and angry at all those planets. And Uranus is electricity. I still think that in the coming months, we have to watch the grid and cyber attacks. We do. We have to be vigilant, and we have to have up-to-date software and a lot of backup.
any part of the country more than another.
No, we have some difficult full moons coming. I don't like the one in May. I don't like the end of April.
I wonder where they fall on a map of the US, like where they fall
Oh
over.
yeah, you could, but it tends to affect you wherever you are. Even if an eclipse isn't visible in your neighborhood, you're going to feel it anyway because it's in the chart, you know.
So although they're not 7 planets, there will be at least at one time 6 planets in Pisces.
6. That's more than half the solar system. That's huge.
Will that affect us in one particular area more than the other? Or I guess
Well,
wherever.
the end of February, it's February 27th, They're all in Pisces, so it's great for Pisces, gives control to Pisces. Wonderful for them. For Aries, it's a time of meditation and strategy building and withdrawing into a secluded place to figure things out, maybe for their company, the competitive strategy, whatever it is. For Taurus, it's tremendous emphasis on friends, tremendous. And maybe we'll even help a friend who's going through a tough patch. But making new friends is definitely part of it. For Gemini, all those planets are in their career house. The end of February is dazzling for career for them. Finally, everything they've been working on is starting. The garden is growing. The crops are coming up in the garden. In Cancer, it's foreign people, foreign places, international relationships, import, export, academia, publishing, broadcasting, and legal matters also could be good for them because Pisces and Cancer get along so well.
Yeah.
Leo will be obsessed about money, maybe negotiating something big. Could be. Yep. And because Pisces is a creative sign, they could be negotiating the price for an idea that's part of entertainment or a book or something that we all enjoy. For Virgo, it's the partner. The partner has more control. And as I said before, some Virgos are having a little speed bump, little turbulence with the partner. Now, it could be a marriage partner or it could be a business partner. I don't know which it is. It's either one, someone they're very close to that needs fixing or leaving. It's up to them. For Libra, it's a lot of work, a work assignment, but super creative. So I think they would love it. They're certainly going to be in demand, and that's flattering. Everybody wants them. As I said before, Scorpio, it's all love. Now, there's different kinds of love for your mate or the person you're dating that you really love, or your child or your family. It's love in many incarnations, and they're not mutually exclusive. It's gorgeous for Scorpio. And Scorpio is such a private sign. If they don't have someone, I want them to make a little effort because you have to show the universe your intent. And for Sagittarius, it's for the home. Everything's in the home. They're obsessed with the home. And I hope they don't have the last little flood. I've been begging Sagittarius to have flood insurance. And it's funny, when I went back to my same insurance company to get insurance on the apartment I had to move into temporarily. And they said, we're not covering anybody for flood anymore. I know you have it on your first apartment. We're not giving it to you. I said, can I get a separate rider and pay more? No, we're not paying it out for anybody. They said, you have to go to one of our competitors. They actually said that. I'm still kind of in shock,
Yeah, I would be too.
Who says this, And then Capricorn, I would be traveling or making contracts with people. It's a communication house. They could be building an app or a video game. Wonderful time to do that. Oh, so imaginative. A movie, something digital, or traveling too. Sagittarius, you're finally working on the money and trying to make it come in faster, stronger,
Capricorn?
making you wealthier. But this is such a friendly new moon. You could figure it out and leave the year richer by the decisions you make at the end of February, early March, because the new moon affects you for 5 months, but really strong right after it's appeared, first 10 days.
You said Sagittarius again. I think you meant Aquarius, right?
No. Oh, yes. I'm sorry, Aquarius. Yes. And then Pisces is the leader of the parade. Everybody wants them, and in love and in business. It's really a nice time.
I'm ready
I
to
like the
start.
February 27th new moon very much. Remember, a new moon opens a new door. A full moon crystallizes what you've already done and gives you an answer, gives you closure. So, sometimes, well, we had a great interview. What's happening? They're not telling me. By the full moon, you know. But I remember saying to my mother when I was learning astrology and I was a teenager, I have great aspects and nothing's happening. So what do you mean? Well, I have Jupiter in the house of fame and I'm going to run for office for school treasurer. And, I should be doing really well, with, just with some kind of feedback from my professors, but nothing's happening. And she said, do you have a new moon in the same house? No, I said, no, not now. When are you going to have it? So I look it up. I said, oh, in May. Oh, well, that's when you'll get it. You need a new moon. She comes with the keys and she unlocks the door. Without a new moon, a friendly new moon, not much is going to happen. Planets are like people.
Yeah.
Sitting in your house by yourself, you could do things. You could write a great American novel or the best blockbuster film by yourself. But usually things start happening when two people get together. Same thing with planets, when they start cooperating, start communicating, especially if they're friendly. Yeah. Just like in life, if you like your writing partner,
Exactly.
you're
Yeah.
going to do a good job. If you can't stand your writing partner, you should rethink this whole project. So, I think we all form a chemical equation with other people. Everybody has a gift to give us.
Yeah.
And we could learn from. And it could be magical. We see this in everyday life. Some people are just magic for us. Some cities, some companies are magic for us. It's interesting to find out when a company was incorporated. You can find that out on Google.
Yeah. And you could,
And if it's friendly to your birthday, that company is great for you.
That's a smart idea. Now you're making me think. Wow, we covered a lot.
Yeah, we did. We always do. You give me the best interviews.
Thank you. I love talking to you. I'm gonna do this a quick turnaround. I'm actually gonna post this on Valentine's Day.
Okay.
Like, Valentine's Day, I feel like that's a perfect day to post it.
Yes.
So I'll post it. Obviously, I'll invite you to be a collaborator on Instagram because I'll post a preview clip. And
yeah, well, I'll put it on all 6.
yeah, if you could put it on all your platforms, that would be great. And yeah, I'm so excited. And to close off, I was actually wondering, I may or may not keep this part in depending upon how detailed you go, but I sent you my chart and I was wondering.
Oh, yeah. Now I'll have to go off camera for a minute. Is that okay?